I've got Phil Tufnell and Deep Das Gupta with me today. Let's start with you, Tuffers. I reckon that's the worst day from an England perspective of the series. Now you can correct me for all if you like. I just thought there was the lessons that they've been meted out during the course of this series. Again, they just seem to ignore today.
Absolutely. They'll be hugely disappointed and once again got off to another good start. Yeah. Won the toss and decided to have a bat. But you could just feel that it was just round the corner, that there would be another sort of collapse in that middle order and things would go from sort of like bad to worse. And it did. I think it must now start to become a little bit frustrating for this England side at the moment, because they are getting themselves in good positions, and then they just seem to keep throwing it away. They've done it all Test matches, really. I mean, a little bit lucky in that first one, a fantastic knock from Ollie Pope, but apart from that, they're just not putting together any sort of. They're not consolidating on these positions that they've sort of. A little bit of luck sometimes to get there, but or sort of like they've done the hard work and then just keep handing it back to India. So it's very frustrating times if you're an England player, support staff, and also supporter.
Yeah, 7 players reached double figures deep. 218 all out.
Yeah. I mean, listen, we've seen this happening right through this Test series, and I completely agree with Toffers. It would be very, very frustrating for the captain and the support staff because England were in such a strong position again after the first session. But again, there has to be, I do understand that you want to back the players as much as possible, ask them to play their natural game, but there has to be an element of accountability as well with the shot selection. You mentioned about shot selection, and I think to a great extent it's also awareness in terms of where you are placed in that game, how the team is, how you think the Test match is going to pan out, the pitch conditions. I guess a lot of that game awareness, yes, you want to just go out there and watch the ball and play the ball, but you've got to be aware of, and that's what Test cricket is all about.
Yeah, you've been out there deep, haven't you? I heard you commentating on the telly. What's the feeling out there amongst the Indian broadcasters, those who we're listening to here, about the way that England are playing? I'm not taking anything away from India, by the way. I mean, we'll come on to that in a second, because they've got a depleted team themselves, and they've absolutely thoroughly deserve the position they're in. So we'll come to that in a second. But I just wonder, because this is so repetitive, this is just same old, isn't it? And you were there. I wonder what people, Sonny Gavaskar and people who we're used to working with, what they're thinking about all of this.
I guess obviously one thing is for sure, it's exciting. I think in the last 10, 12 years, we haven't had a touring team as competitive as this. So it is exciting cricket. The brand of cricket is exciting. But if you just forget about everything else and just focus on, just the way that English batters have given it up. I mean, from positions of strength, starting from that Joe Root reverse sweep to maybe Bairstow in the last Test match, that first ball, expansive drive, things like that. And you start feel like, yes, it is exciting, but is it helping?
Duck it today. Beautifully set, and it goes and plays a haymaker like that.
Also, another thing, and you're talking there deep about sort of awareness, and we've been going on about it, but I mean, Ollie Pope for me was just summed it up. Just coming to lunch, 2 or 3 balls before then, he's bowled him the sort of the wrong one from the left arm wrist spinner, and it's gone past his outside edge. So he's sort of like obviously not picking him. And so it's just coming up to lunch. What don't you do? You don't decide to come running down the wicket. And what you're going to gain from that? A lunch is in just round the corner, so to speak. So you're not trying to sort of upset the bowler or anything like that. It was just poor match awareness. And I think that is now what is becoming the frustration, that these guys are not seeming to sort of like be thinking clearly. I know it's coming to the end of the series, and I know they're 3-1 down and what have you, but you've still got to put into practice even, if you're looking to be aggressive and looking to take the game on and what have you, there are still some sort of like, solid rules of Test match cricket, and they seem to not be aware of them. And when they're arriving sort of at their doorstep, and just, as you say, that for me, I threw my pen in the air. I was watching it, I put my cup of tea down and just said, why on earth? What was going through his head to then play that shot at that time?
And, as an opposition, what happens is even you're down in a game, but you back of your mind, you're not under pressure because there's something coming.
Yeah, of course, absolutely. You can just sit back.
Exactly. It's not that, you have to make things happen because
keep it tight.
Just keep it tight.
Give us a wicket, yeah.
Exactly. So the pressure at times, which should be on the opposition, is not technically because there's something around the corner.
I dared look Tuffers at the ICC rankings the other day, the World Championship points. Yeah. We hear a lot from this English team, and we'll hear from Marcus Trescothick in a minute. I heard him on the telly talking about we're a unique team. They're second bottom. They're eighth. I mean, that's England, but second bottom in the World Test Championship table.
Yeah, absolutely. And it was interesting just listening to Deep there saying about, a very combative England team. Well, let's be fair, they're probably going to lose this one. So they're going to come back having lost the series 4-1. And let's be fair again, apart from an Ollie Pope wonder knock, they should have lost the first one. Yeah. So it's 5-0. So they're just not seeming to get it right at the moment, are they? They just keep handing back the initiative. And when you're in the field, it's a nice place to be that, because that, as you were saying, it's just round the corner. All we've got to do is just sit in for a little while, and something will happen and we'll get back in the game. And I don't mind, listen, in India it's very, very difficult to go out and bat early on, so if you get a good one earlier on and you're on 5 or 6 or something like that, I think it's when you get into the 20s and 30s and the 40s, when you've got over that initial period, I think that's slightly more concerning than sort of getting a good one early on.
Yeah, and this pitch has turned a bit, but I mean, nothing like the others. I mean, it's spun predictably, hasn't it, Deep? To be fair, it's spun a bit, but not like a couple of the other ones that we've seen in this series so far.
True. I mean, to be honest, leaving aside the first Test match, the Hyderabad game, I don't think we've got those turners, so to say, in this series at all. I mean, they've been all really good surfaces to bat on. Yeah. Yes, when you go to the subcontinent, it's going to turn a bit. I mean, that's taken for granted. I mean, I don't think that should be a surprise for anyone. But we haven't really, apart from that first game, seen any kind of demons in any of these pitches so far. I mean, this one for sure, it's a wonderful pitch to bat on. Yes, I mean, like any pitch, first 10-15 deliveries will be tough, will be challenging. But once you set, and which most of the English batters were, just threw it away.
Hard work. That used to be sort of a mantra, was it? Hard work out there. Yeah, okay, right, thanks. So get in there and sort of guts it out and work hard. Get that 400. Ugly cricket people used to talk about as well, didn't they? Yes. Just get those runs. This England team doesn't seem capable of doing that.
I mean, that is surprising. I mean, listen, it's been hard work wherever you go. I mean, even in England, I mean, you never would get easy runs, whether it's Australia, India, wherever. But that tenacity or that mentality to grind things out. I mean, for example, Joe Root's innings was a brilliant one, that 100 that he got. I mean, he had to grind it out. But unfortunately, apart from that innings and obviously Ollie Pope's in the first Test match, they haven't come across any innings which you could say, that the batter had to grind it out.
Let's hear from the man who has had to carry the can. I always feel so sorry for Marcus Trescothick when he gets wheeled out. The wheels are off. Who should we interview? Get poor old Marcus out, the batting coach, and he's been speaking to Stefan Schemmelt.
Marcus Trescothick, thanks for talking to the TMS podcast at the end of what was a tough and disappointing day.
Yeah, tough day. I think didn't quite go as we expected it to. I think we started well and we challenging conditions worse than we were expecting them to be. Obviously the ball swung around quite considerably, a little bit of seam as well. So we got ourselves into a decent position, but Kuldeep obviously then came in the afternoon and sort of spun the ball hard and bowled some good deliveries to get some good batsmen out. So a challenging day and something we can, hopefully we can improve upon and be better tomorrow.
You mentioned the start of the day because Zach and Ben worked incredibly hard to get through that first hour or so.
Yeah, they did, and I think we got a bit of luck here and there, and I think we all saw the ball swung, so we're kind of hoping that that there might be a little bit around there tomorrow morning and we can utilise that with Jimmy and Woody and whoever. So it is what it is. I think we're all disappointed, and maybe something that we can look upon, but hopefully we'll be better.
Kuldeep's introduction changed the game, didn't it?
Yeah, he spun the ball well, and I think we could all see, especially from sort of outside off stump to the right-handers, there was quite a decent amount of spin. The pitch is wearing, as we've seen, and there's a few marks upon it. But he got the ball to spin more than anyone else. I know. The other two spinners did get a bit of spin here and there, but it was a lot more inconsistent in comparison. But he did spin the ball well, and fair play to him, getting 5 for on there.
After the last test, Brendan spoke about Ollie Pope trying to start his innings with a bit more calmness. Is that easier said than done?
It's always challenging when you've just had a pair, of course it is, but he's got various things that we work upon. He's adapted really well in certain conditions and certain parts of his game, and it's ever growing all the time. And the more he's tested and the more he's played in these sort of environments and tougher conditions, he's going to improve. After that, 190 in the first game, we saw a vast improvement, and it's just keep growing that and keep encouraging that sort of growth as much as we can do, and he'll be a better player for it, no doubt about it. Batting
collapses happen, they're part of the game. The one today, were you outskilled? Were there some poor decisions? Was it the conditions at play as well?
Well, I think you saw a bowler bowling very well, getting a good amount of spin off the pitch, so I would give him a lot of credit. I'm sure all the batsmen will be looking at themselves and just asking a few questions, saying, can we do it differently? Can we be better than what we were? And hopefully be, a better unit on top of what it is. We've got one guy has got 150. If we can get a few more of those going into the second innings, then we'll be better. You've been around the England team a long time as a player and a coach. When it doesn't go well, you might get criticised. What would you say to anyone who says that was an end of tour performance today? Well, everyone's entitled to the opinion, isn't it? I think we're no more disappointed than anybody else. We try and be better. We try and do things slightly differently, and we have that positivity in the team of what we do. So it won't affect how we've gone about things, and I think they're a good enough team and strong enough to be able to put that right and learn from the mistakes they've made. Moved around this morning. If it does the same again tomorrow, that gives you an opportunity, doesn't it? Of course, it'll be something that hopefully will going to happen. The ball's obviously a little bit older than what they had this morning, so it's 30 overs old already. So hopefully get it shiny in the morning, and a bit of dampness around overnight, and the conditions in the morning will hopefully be in our favour. Just finally, what was it like seeing your name on an England team sheet again? Yeah, stupid, isn't it, really? You think at 48, sort of still running out there and doing it, but me and Ollie both really enjoying the opportunities to get back out, run a few drinks around and get out in the middle and sort of sample the atmosphere when wickets go down. So something we're really enjoying. I think we're both, definitely I'm not hoping to get on the field, but Ollie might be a bit more hopeful than I am. Where would you field? Have you bagged anywhere if you get out there? Long stop, something like that really. Either that or under the helmet, I don't know. But it'll never happen, so we don't have to worry about that. Cheers, Marcus. Cheers.
Well, Marcus Trescothick trying to put a brave face on things. Couple of things there. Let's talk about Ollie Pope, shall we? This isn't my stat, I picked this up, but it's come from a fairly reliable source. 50% of his scores at test level are below 20. Yeah. And he does look deep. Put a batting perspective on this. He does look very frenetic. He looks fidgety. Yeah. He looks nervous when he first comes in.
Yeah, we all are nervous, but some of us are a little more nervous than the others, and obviously he's one of those. First 20-odd deliveries, he's got to find out a way to play those first 20, 25 deliveries, and we've said this before. But the other thing, I believe after the first test match, and I was having a chat with one of the players, senior players, and they said after the first test, they decided not to pitch anything up to him. So just let him play off the back foot. And I think the Indian bowlers have bowled really well post that first test match. So I think a combination of both those things. I think the Indian bowlers have bowled well, even to Ben Duckett for that matter. If you look at how the Indian bowlers have bowled after the second test match or second day of the second test match, very different to what they were doing initially. With Ollie Pope's case, I guess, a lot of it, you've got to talk to the coaches. There'll be solutions which is very individual to a player. For someone like me, I don't know him personally, but something I'll tell him to do is just back your defense initially. Maybe look at your breathing. What happens is when you're nervous, your breathing becomes shallow. One of the things that he can try out is just make sure his breathing rhythm is in shape the first few. After you played a few deliveries, obviously you'll calm down. But I think initially, some of the things that he can have a chat with someone like Trescothick and figure out what he can do, but something that he needs to look at for sure.
Yeah. What do you think, Tuffers? It's becoming a bit of a thing now, isn't it? I mean, he just looks very nervous.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, well, this is something that it's quite straightforward for him to work on that, isn't it? You know, sometimes you don't quite know what's the matter with techniques and things like that, but it's just glaring, isn't it? Yeah. You know, so that he's got it. You know, if you work on that, you will become a better player. It's as simple as that. Now, what that is, as you say, as Deep says, it's about, you know, batting coaches and all this kind of stuff to work their so-called magic. But yeah, it's absolutely glaring. And I'll tell you something, for a number 3. You know, when you're sitting there in the field, you just feel you're in the game, and you can be sure there'll be a few chirps. Everyone knows it, so that then all of a sudden becomes even more sort of weight on your shoulders. You know, because you just scratch. You look like you're scratching around. There must be something, whether it's mental or technically, that he can just put that to one side just for those 20 or 30 balls, get yourself to 10 or 15, and then you can start, you know, being a little bit more expansive. But at the moment, he just looks like he's a cat on a hot tin roof.
I mean, it's not just about Ollie Pope. I mean, I think Ben Stokes going through the same thing. He hasn't got it. I mean, the innings that he's got to start to, he's gone on to score runs and he's looked very comfortable. But the other innings, apart from that 70 odd that he got, he's struggled to get off again. I mean, I guess it's the same issue with him as well, the first 25 deliveries that he faces. So I think, I mean, there seems to be at least a couple of them in that playing 11 or that squad there who has this issue. So maybe something, or maybe they need to get some help from a sports psychologist or something. I don't know. I mean, it wouldn't be a bad idea.
Crawley, meanwhile, must mention him, Tuffers. I mean, he made that pitch look good, actually, didn't he? I mean, some lovely silky drives as he. I mean, he's had a good series, actually.
No, absolutely. But there again, but without just going on to get that 100, go on and get that big 100, which then puts you in the box seat of games, especially if you're batting first. It's lovely, and he has played very well. I've been impressed with how he's done it. I mean, he got an absolute ripper today. You know. Delicious delivery from Kuldeep.
Tempting.
Slightly slower, tossed up a bit more, a little bit more drop, you know, enticing that drive. Beautiful piece of bowling. So you kind of tip your hat and go fair play. But he'll be happy, but at the same time he'll think again, missed opportunities, you know, could have been sitting there with 140, could have batted the day, you know. You know, that's cricket in India as well, and these things happen. But, you know, as Trez said there, you know, there will be a couple of batsmen, hopefully. At least Trez has come out and said that batsmen tonight, sitting back in their, you know, hotel rooms, having a little think about how they can get better. So at least it hasn't just sort of come out and said, that's the way we play, you know, not to worry, let's all go off and then come back tomorrow. At least he's just given us a bit of a hint there that the guys need to start thinking for themselves here a little bit. You haven't just got a right to be in this England side because you sort of like go swishing around, you know. So it was interesting to see what Trescothick said. Yeah.
So enough about England for a moment. Come on, Deep. I mean, India have had a terrific series, haven't they? I mean, bear in mind who they're missing throughout. And Rohit Sharma's been handling youngsters, enthusiastic, excitable youngsters who've come in and done really well. You know, a lot of pressure on those young players coming in. I guess obviously Jaiswal stands out. I mean, sort of a modern test player, I guess.
Absolutely. I mean, listen, I mean, it's a huge positive for India. I mean, obviously we knew about Yashasvi Jaiswal ever since his under 19 World Cup, I think 2018 batch. But then obviously the kind of hard work that he's put in last couple of years, I still remember talking to his state coach Amol Mazumdar a couple of years ago, and you could see that difference in him in terms of his strength and also technically, and that hunger to score runs. And something that Rohit mentioned in the post-match presentation after the last game, he spoke about backing players in this day and age who are hungry to play for the country, all formats, and hungry to score runs. And I think he kind of symbolizes all of that, what Rohit mentioned. You know, a lot of with T20 cricket and franchise cricket, there's a lot of youngsters coming through who might not be as keen or as hungry but he's very old school. He wants to play. He wants to play all format. He wants to make a name for himself, and that's what he is. And a lot of hard work. And the best part, I spoke to him after the last Test match, and he's such a nice, humble guy. He still wants to learn more, asking questions and stuff like that. So, yeah, I mean, and looking forward, I mean, obviously the selectors and the team management have decided to take a different direction, looking at younger talent. There's a big tour of Australia coming up end of this year. So, yeah, I mean, it's a big positive looking at India's future.
Yeah, I love watching him. And also Kuldeep Tuffers, the fastest Indian to 50 Test wickets now in terms of balls bowled. Pretty special today. And those wrist spinners, they make things happen, don't they?
Well, absolutely.
And so do orthodox, so do traditional spinners as well, Tuffers, of course.
Yeah. I'd like to just ask Deep on this one, because obviously the England players weren't picking him deep today. I mean, you could see it. They didn't know which way it was going. Has he got a great sort of like deception about the different balls that he's bowling? Or,
I'm surprised, Tuffers. I mean, I know what you're saying. There's no mystery. If you look at his action, it's very old school, very evident that the googly is coming back of the hand and the leg spin. So there is no element of mystery, and there shouldn't be. He's been around for good 6-7 years now, playing international cricket with all the technology and video and analysis and things like that. It shouldn't be, and he's not. It's not that he bowls a carom ball or something else. It's very traditional top spin, leg spin, googly. But this is what I've been speaking to a lot of these young cricketers, and especially the Indian cricketers. I'm surprised that they don't pick a wrist spinner. And some of them said, and it's quite interesting, that because the first instinct as a batter nowadays is to play an aggressive shot. So they are focusing too much on the line and length at times and not at the release point. So, so that becomes a little, I mean, if you look at, batters nowadays against wrist spin, a lot of them are not picking them, which is a little bit of a surprise. But I agree. I mean, his action is very traditional. He shouldn't. I mean, anyone who can read the wrist and the release should not have too much of a problem reading his variations. I mean, yes, I mean, he bowled beautifully. The drift and dip. I think the wicket, the Zach Crawley delivery was almost unplayable. That was an absolute jaffa.
Meanwhile, Jimmy Anderson, they're putting all their eggs in his basket overnight, listening to Marcus Trescothick Tuffers.
Hoping for a bit of rain.
Well, hoping the balls will swing all over the place tomorrow morning. And I mean, if people weren't watching this morning, it did swing a lot today, but that was with a new ball, a brand new ball on a brand new pitch. Dear old Jimmy with a 30 overs old ball. Who knows?
Yeah, it's going to be tricky for England. You just get the feeling that there could be a sort of a tidal wave of Indian runs coming England's way. They needed to make the breakthrough with the new ball, really, didn't they? When they came out in that last session, but didn't, hung in there. But you just get the feeling that if the Indian batters can weather that little bit of Jimmy, 3 or 4 overs, and a bit of Mark Wood, it's going to be down to the young spinners again, who have dealt with the pressure and the situations they've been in admirably. But you just get the feeling that this might be, a step too far now. What are they, 80 odd behind?
Yes.
Well, crikey, O'Reilly, if you're not on it and get a bit of luck early, it could get a little bit messy.
So before we go, let's have a word on Marais Erasmus. He's retiring from international umpiring. The friendliest face on the circuit, I think. I've had some lovely evenings with Marais, and during the day as well. He's always got a smile on his face. He loves a chat, and I remember him starting, of course. But the second and final test between Australia and New Zealand, which starts on Friday, will be his last. We'll all miss him. Have you got any memories of Marais, Deep?
Nothing particular, but yeah, like you said, always smiling, and very importantly, he keeps everything very calm on the field. He's always ready for a chat, sharing a joke. He's quite funny, as you would know. It's absolutely brilliant. I mean, he's been brilliant over the years,
And again, as a player, you know that chances are he'll get most of his decisions right. So, at times, leg before and all, you would be can be a little upset. But if it's Erasmus, then chances are you were out, so you won't be questioning his decision that often. Things like that, and even he would always come up with some suggestions as well from time to time, as in for the bowlers, just watch out, you might be coming onto the danger zone, or your foot's too close to that line, your head's falling or something like that. So yeah, absolutely brilliant over the years he's been.